live. Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
We're going to be talking all about Hugo and SFF Award madness today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bree. My channel is Stories from the Shelf, and we have here.
I'm Claire. My channel is Claire Russo, and I'm very obsessed with the Hugo Awards.
I'm Elizabeth, and my channel is Books and Pieces. I am not quite so obsessed, but let's see what happens. I have gin, so I have feelings.
You need gin for this, probably. So the awards were posted, the award nominees for the Hugo were posted last week on Tuesday, the 26th. So we'll probably cover, we want to cover what? Novels, short stories, and the rest of that I think we can talk about in one big, great bulge.
Novella? No?
No, novellas.
Yeah.
So if you were around for the Hugo Awards last year, you are probably familiar with the sad puppy craze. And by the look on all of our faces, I think you can tell that that was back.
For those unfamiliar, perhaps we should do a very short recap of the last few years of Hugos.
Yes.
So the Hugo Awards, science fiction's probably most well-known, I would say. I don't know. There's lots of controversy about that in itself. Probably science fiction's most well-known award. Had some controversy in that some people who decided to name themselves the Sad Puppies said that it was awarding things that were, what was the thing? That had been co-opted by the social justice warriors, and that they should award things that were popular rather than, like, worthy or whatever. So they tried to get some nominations in on the 2014 awards, which were soundly trounced. And then in the 2015 awards, they took it a step further and basically smothered the ballot with their nominees. Yeah?
Yeah. And the functionality of the Hugo Awards when you're doing the nominating process is such that everyone who has a membership is supposed to nominate the things that they think are best, right? So you kind of get this snapshot of fandom as a whole. The problem with the Sad Puppies being that you're not supposed to slate things. I mean, aside from some of the greater political problems that are associated with them and that they're known for, you're not supposed to slate because block voting kind of defeats that purpose of getting that snapshot of fandom.
Yeah, and I think in fairness we have to say that this year, that last year, the Sad Puppies presented a slate, and another group that is more radical called the Rabid Puppies presented a slate. And this year, the Sad Puppies, they operated under a different model, and what they did was do a post, like a blog of recommendations, and it wasn't just like 5 things to go in the 5 slots. And in fairness, in terms of the process of voting and nominating, the Sad Puppies this year didn't do anything that wasn't normally done by other people that post recommendations. They did it with a lot of vitriol, but it was, in terms of the process, it wasn't something that went through the awards. It was the Rabid Puppies this year that posted a slate, and that is something that has five nominees, and because it's just 5 slots, and because every other vote is being scattered, then that can take over.
Yes. And last year, after all of the nominees were in, a few people dropped out and a few better things got on the ballot, and where something that was, I don't know, more typically like hadn't been a part of the slates was on the ballot, it won, and where there was only puppy ballots, they got voted no award because fandom doesn't like to be told what to do. And then it happened again this year, but slightly less because there were a lot more people nominating this year.
Yeah, they got a record-breaking amount of nominations, actually, something like 4,000 with a little bit of change, which was very cool. If there was one thing that's come out of the puppies and been good, it's probably that. I'm not alone, and I have someone in the apartment who's very amused by the entire sad puppy debate and how much I care about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been good to see the fandom grow, at least, or participation in the Hugos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this year we ended up with a slightly better slate, but still one that has been widely sort of affected by things, and perhaps even more so in some of the minor categories, because last year in things like Fancast, Best Fancast, plenty of nominees got in just straight through that had been on it like several times. Things like Galactic Suburbia, which won, and Emma Newman's podcast, which slips my mind what it's called, Tea in Jeopardy. And this year, like loads of the minor categories, or all of them, have been taken over by the slates.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find. Mike Glyer did a fantastic.
I've got it up.
List of it.
Hugo
Yeah.
nominated Mike Glyer.
Yes, Hugo. Hugo Award nominated Mike Glyer has a fantastic comparison of what was on each slate, and then what was on the sad puppy recommended list compared to what got on. And it's sad to see.
Yeah, although, to be fair, one of the most interesting things that came out of it is this thing that this year they nominated a lot of things that are just popular, and so they can't they're taking credit for the huge popularity of people like Neil Gaiman and Neil Stevenson, and, you know, like, how the hell are they voting for Strange Horizons as best semi-prozine? Like, Strange Horizons is regularly on the best semi-prozine list. It's an excellent, very diverse publication. Yeah,
that is interesting, and a lot of discussion has been. Alyssa Wong, in particular, had this really great article about how if you made it on this list, it's not necessarily because you're politically savvy in some way. There's a really good chance that you're just really good at what you do.
Yeah.
And so it's been interesting. Last year, you saw a lot of people withdrawing, and I think we're going to definitely see less of that. I think one person so far has talked about withdrawing from
One
the
person
nomination.
has withdrawn. And I think that's it so far. So we will see as time goes along, but Scalzi did a whole article on it that was published somewhere pretty big that was like, you know, the puppies can't take credit for Neil Gaiman.
I think it was in the LA Times.
Yeah.
And it was also about how they never affect something like the film category, because that's what everyone has seen. Although, I mean, Age of Ultron is on there, and that was terrible. So.
Yeah, but loads of Marvel fans vote for Marvel, whatever. So lots of people would.
I'm a Marvel fan and just think it was terrible.
I know, but there are different types of Marvel fan.
Yeah. Flip of the coin being that there are some very obvious punking going on this year.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I feel like we can't get out of this without talking specifically about Space Raptor Butt Invasion.
No, that's great! Everyone loves Space Raptor Butt Invasion, which is just the best thing.
That's the only bit of it that, like, is actually some kind of comic relief.
Yeah. Which still has my favorite cover of the year. Yeah. If you have a chance to look it up, the raptor is in a spacesuit, but the random guy that is, I guess, the main character is not. But they're in space. So
no, there's a dramatic reading on YouTube which I listened to part of, and it's like
amazing.
It's brilliant because there's a guy giving a reading to an audience that you can't see, and they're commenting along, and at one point, like, the guy is like unzipping the raptor's space pants, and they're just like wetting themselves laughing. He actually calls it his space pants.
His space pants. Oh man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was put on there as an obvious troll, but everybody loves Chuck Tingle. Like, everyone's happy.
I mean,
um,
yeah.
oh.
You've got to like someone who got ready for his Hugo nomination with like pounded in the butt with my Hugo joke, which is like everyone knows what the Hugo Award look like, the physical object, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes more sense than some of his other titles, like Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt.
I mean, I think it was N.K. Jemisin who was just like, nope, screw it. He's a ridiculous comedian, and like it's all a form of art.
yeah.
And yeah. Oh man. A number of things are on the list though that I'm really excited about. I think we still have a pretty strong best novel category and best novella.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about those two.
Yeah, I haven't.
So, shall we go through the like novel and novella, and then maybe a couple of the others?
Yes.
Let's start with novel because it at least makes me happy.
So on the novel list, we've got Ancillary Mercy by Anne Leckie.
Yay!
Yes, everyone's excited for that one. The Cinder Spires, which is the Aeronaut's Windlass. That's the new Jim Butcher book. The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, which I'm all about. I'm really excited for that one. Seven Eves by Neil Stevenson, and Uprooted by Naomi Novik. So a good crop there.
Well, I have many opinions and feelings about having works nominated that are like number 13 in a series, because I think it's a bit unfair and also a bit dangerous because
who read all of those last year?
Last time this happened, it was a Volkosigan novel, and I read it, and I hadn't read any of the other ones, and I really didn't like it. And my friends were just all like, oh, if you read it within the context of it doesn't read the same at all. And I was like, I'm sorry, now I hate it. I'm not reading that series ever. So it's kind of counterproductive, I think, although I know
that
I'm
happened
very wrong about that.
That happened last year with the other Jim Butcher book, Skinless, that got nominated, right?
Yeah.
But this one is, I thought the Aeronaut's Windlass is a new series that he's doing. It's the first in a new series.
Yeah, I think so. It's not his Harry Dresden.
Yeah.
Please, ignore me.
I think all of these can be read just by themselves, which is always good. Anytime then it's more than a couple of books in, I'm just like, how many books do I have to commit?
Ancillary Mercy won't make any sense unless people have read Justice and Sword, but
people should read Justice and Sword
they should, because they're amazing.
Well, I mean,
but yeah, at least the Hugo sort of.
Yeah.
Sorry, Claire, what were you saying?
I think a lot of people will have read them because of them being nominated in previous years. For people who are just starting now, just started to be interested in the Hugos because of last year, that'll be a bit of work. But I mean, I do think they're a bit.
Wasn't Sword on the list last year?
Sword was on the list last year, yeah. So, and Ancillary Justice won when it was up. So I'd hope the returners, at least, I think, will be familiar with them.
Yeah.
I really don't think they're as obscure as people think they are. So yeah.
Yeah, and Seven Eves by Neil Stevenson was on the puppy list, but it was one of the most anticipated science fiction books of the year, so I don't think they can take the credit for Neil Stevenson.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah. I know some people don't love Stevenson because he's not known for his endings, let's put it that way. And there's a lot of fiddly science stuff in there, but if you like your, I don't know, it felt plausible science to me. Yeah. I just get fascinated when he goes into technical detail about stuff and then mixes it in with crazy poetry and just all kinds of madness.
Yeah. his characters in it, I think, are really well done too. It's like one of those books where it's got great science, but also really interesting plot and great characters. It kind of hits all three very well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all of us have our opinion on this second portion of the book. Mine being that it really should have been separated into 2 books. But,
no, because then you get that awful thing where there's 2 books when you could have had 1. Like, just get it over and done with.
We have the flip side of the coin, which is we have 1 book when we really probably should have had 2. I'm a little bit on Claire's side about this one, because I would have read another 500 pages, and that world probably would have been better.
Another 500 pages in the same book. Let's be completely clear about that. So.
That's true. This is true. What about the 5th season? That one is up for the BookTube SFF Awards. Way to pick it.
But
Are you okay?
Sorry, trying to not cough into my microphone.
Okay.
I haven't read the 5th season, so I can't offer any opinions, I'm afraid.
Oh, you're gonna like it.
I do like Jemison, so.
I think 5th season's gonna be right up your alley when you do read it. I'm really excited now that I know that you have it to read.
Oh yeah, it's there.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like we're going to have the same kind of reaction to that than Baru Cormorant. Like, it hurts so good. Yeah. Yeah. I think you just hit the nail on the head, Claire. Actually, BookTube SFF Awards named 2 that are also on the list. So there's also Uprooted by Naomi Novik, which is one I was not a huge fan of. But I haven't read it yet. I have it on my shelf.
Yeah, I was in the middle with that one.
Mm-hmm.
I hated it for a good portion of it, and then I kind of felt like it got more interesting, and I kind of got into what it was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I still wouldn't say that it was award worthy to me. But obviously, lots of people disagree.
Is that one that made the Rabid Puppy list?
No,
maybe the
I don't
Sad
think
Puppy
so.
list.
Probably.
Yeah, well, the Sad Puppy list was huge.
Huge, ridiculously huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on there as well. It's also on the Nebula Award.
Yeah.
Like, hot tipped for the Nebula, so.
Yeah, and then the novella category for the Hugos this year is really looking good too. I've read, I think, most of these. But Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, which is fantastic. Really great adaptation of space kind of stories. The Builders by Daniel Polanski I haven't read. But there's also Penrick's Demon by Lois McMaster Bujold, Perfect State by Brandon Sanderson, and Slow Bullets by Alistair Reynolds. I don't know. Any thoughts on those?
I've not read a single one.
You haven't read any of them?
No.
Shame on you.
Binti's
fantastic.
I'm just claiming, like, dissertation things.
Yeah, which is fair. You did have Dolores to battle.
Yes.
Yeah, I've read Binti, and I'm going to read Perfect State because of the BookTube SFF Awards. But I haven't read any of the other ones, and I don't know.
Yeah, I know Penrick's Demon has been a pretty big favorite with people who really like Bujold's Five Gods world. So they've really liked that. I'm going to be reading Perfect State. I haven't read it yet, but I hear from a lot of people that Slow Bullets is also really good. I hope to be reading that one soon.
Interesting. It's oh my kitty.
We have a wild kitty has appeared.
Yeah, I've just intruded. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We're very happy to see you.
Yay!
I was watching it whilst I was eating my dinner, and I was like, I want to just start chatting.
Now tell us your opinions on the novels and novellas.
I was fairly happy with the novels. I haven't read all of the novellas, but I've read a few of the novels. I haven't read the new Jim Butcher one, although I want to. and it's more incentive to read it, I suppose. Seven Eves I've read. I was kind of totally fine with it in the one book, so I agree with Elizabeth on that one. Sorry to even the odds.
Okay.
Yeah, I was fine with that. What are the other ones? Uprooted, I was a bit so-so on, like, didn't really care for it, to be honest. It was not my favourite. Yeah, I've forgotten the other ones off the top of my head, but like, I can remember the ones that are...
So
yeah,
out
I
of
can remember the ones that I've read.
out of curiosity, does everyone here have a voting membership?
Yeah.
I know
I
do.
know.
Okay. Elizabeth, you do,
No.
and Claire,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
I'm going to get one next time, I think.
Well, you can still get one to vote, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
So,
it's
yeah.
$40.
Maybe.
It's fairly cheap.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to Helsinki, you should have a voting. No, maybe not. I don't know. I should stop saying things that I'm not sure. But yeah.
I'm super excited because I just found out I may be able to go to Helsinki.
Yay!
Yay!
Although I don't know if I will be able to. It's so flipping expensive.
Yeah, I don't know either. We can go together. Let's all share.
It's really not as expensive as, like, you know, in the States.
Yeah. So the categories that got kind of dominated by the puppies kind of come after this. I think they got almost everything in best short story, in best related work, best graphic story. That one was a kind of a punch in the gut.
We didn't do best novelette, which I think is an interesting one
true.
to talk about.
Okay.
Because there was one they didn't, which was And You Shall Know Her by the Trail of Dead by Brooke Bollander, who is lovely. Follow her on Twitter and she's very nice. So that was their one that they didn't get. But they also nominated Stephen King, because, like, yeah, they can take credit for that. And a story called Folding Beijing by Hao Jingfang, from which was translated by Ken Liu, and it was published in Uncanny, which is one of my favorite science fiction and fantasy magazines. I thought it was a phenomenal story. You know, it was one of my choices. You know, not a puppy. Definitely not one that they should be taking credit for. Like, it's a brilliant story.
Yeah, well, I saw it and I was like, oh, that's kind of a weird pick to have put on their list.
I mean, I'm always happy to see more translated work.
Yeah.
I wish it got there on its own merits, which it probably can. You know, if it's that good. I haven't read it because I'm really bad at short fiction and usually rely on stuff like the Hugo shortlist. So.
Yeah, and Ken Liu is really good at translation. I've liked what I've read of his that he's translated.
Yeah, it's a great concept as a story, and yeah, it's really beautifully, I don't know, translated, written, both probably. But yeah, he does do phenomenal translations.
I haven't read the Brooke Bollander one, but I need to. I should.
Lightspeed is a good place.
Lightspeed's pretty fantastic too.
Yeah, the only thing that annoys me a bit about the File 770 article is that it doesn't actually list publication. So it's a bit weird to, like, you know, when you see a short story, where it's being published is a big indicator of kind of like the general tone of it, I suppose. So
yeah,
I'm a bit lost looking at these things with like cool, weird short story type titles and not having this indication of like where it comes from.
Well, and also until the full nominations, like every vote cast will be listed after the awards announced. Until then, we won't know which of those things that were on the Rabbit slate like were also voted for by loads of other people, which I suspect plenty of these things will be, because, like we said, they're trying to take credit for the success of other very successful writers, and it's like there's so much on there that's good that just putting a list of what they slated versus what got on there is not a great indicator of what is something that they're pushing that is just hateful, like that just supports an ideology of like trolling the Hugo Awards, which is very much what is happening in the best related work category. And one of the short stories, if you were a short story or something.
Yeah, that's just
If
like,
you were an award, my love, which is a short story to troll If You Were a Dinosaur, My Love, which was nominated in 2014.
And did not win, which is what they
No.
keep complaining about, that this non-sci-fi story won this sci-fi awards. Like,
No,
win.
it didn't. It didn't win.
So if it gets nominated for a Hugo by enough people, it counts as sci-fi and fantasy.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's like
Rule.
not got a rocket in it, no matter what.
Yeah, that's the one that, I don't know. Short story is interesting, but best related work, I think, is the one that's like that. And graphic story for me, it was like, where are these from?
Oh,
and
God.
also no.
Best related work actually made me really angry. Like, it makes me feel like a bit weirded out by the whole Hugo process. Like, there was some tweets from Damien Walter. Does anyone follow him? He writes for lots of different publications, including The Guardian, and he's very, vocal about what's going on in the science fiction world. And he was saying it's ridiculous this year. It's very clear. The whole sad puppy, like, we're voting for things that are popular. We're trying to get, like, authors who recognized who are being pushed out. This was purely about trolling, and so they should have been removed from the voting process, because it clearly wasn't an attempt at anything, but obviously the rules do not allow for that. But related work was like really like an attempt to hurt people. There's stuff there that is designed to like make people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell I'm going to read it to find out, but it sounds like there's a piece that is called something like safe space, rape as a safe space or something like that. And
no, safe space is rape room.
Which, I mean, I don't care. You can't really put those two words in the same, like, simile.
Yeah.
Like, that's not... And because those people do not believe in content warnings, because that's clearly some kind of, attempt on freedom of speech. I don't know, like, I mean, I just don't want to read it, because I'm just like, no.
What's baffling
I'm not
is...
going to read any of those.
No.
Definitely not.
I'm not going to waste my time on that.
Well, there's one here from a site called AskTheBigot.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's self-explanatory.
Last year, they had something from Patriarchy Press. Like, that means you just don't want my opinion. And
Yeah.
fine. I mean...
Well, and it's crazy to me because they got over 2,000 ballots. Like, how many people bought nominating stuff just to troll this? Like, I don't know about you. I wouldn't spend the $40 to troll someone.
The thing is, with these lower down categories like this, where there's so many fewer ballots, it actually doesn't take very many ballots to get the winning 5, because the nominations are so widely spread, and especially with loads of new people coming into the voting process, like, we've got basically double what we had last year, that you've no idea what they're nominating, what their opinions are going to be, the type of stuff they're interested in. So anything could be coming in related work. Like, there could be, you could have 1,900 ballots for 1,900 different things, and then 100 for these 5, and it would still win.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's disappointing.
It is really disappointing, because best related work tends to go to, like, critical analysis of what's going on in the genre, things that, I mean, related work is very vague, but it tends to go to things that are fairly influential in the genre and what's going on at the moment. And it's just really, like, that does not represent what's been going on in the genre this year. Like, those 5 things do not. And you say graphic story was the one that, like, hurt your feelings most, and, like,
Well,
best fan cast. yeah, I know the whole thing is hurtful, but because it was designed to be hurtful. I mean, it's
Yeah.
horrendous, I guess, right? But
Yeah.
mine was best fan cast because I've never.
I don't think I recognized anything on Best Fancast.
Apparently, they're all angry gamers fan casts.
That's what I heard. I guess Paul at Common Touch of Fantasy went and looked into some of them and was like, just don't even. Which
I think Tales to Terrify might actually be fiction because that's what it sounds like. Yes,
Yeah.
audio horror fiction magazine. So, but Kane and Rince is a gaming one, I know that. 8-4 Players. Rageaholic is, well...
I think it's just rants.
Yeah, I don't know. Just ranting about stuff, maybe? I will have, at least look at what they are, but... Yeah, I don't know. It's just, there's so many nice fan casts out there, like so many interesting podcasts that are doing like great stuff and critiquing the genre, but this is what happens.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that there should be something that's like a fiction, like audio fiction on there, because actually I listen to a lot of the magazines that you can see in Best Fanzines or whatever. They all have podcasts and they all produce really great stuff, and they all have some additional work, interviews that are really thoughtful and whatever. Like the Uncanny podcast will put out only a couple of their stories in their podcast every month, but they'll have really, really great interviews. So I can see how it's a bit different from Best Fanzine, but it's still not something that would normally get on Fancast because, it's just a separate... It doesn't tend to be fiction. I'm so angry about this.
Well, I think Semi-Prozine was at least interesting. Uncanny and Strange Horizons both got on, and Beneath Ceaseless Skies is like pretty interesting. I have not read Daily Science Fiction, so I could not comment. Or Sci-Fi Journal.
I think hasn't Sci-Fi Journal been on before though?
Possibly last year.
I don't know. I don't know much about that one.
The other thing that's on the Semi-Prozine Rabid Puppy Ballot is called Abyss and Apex. Now, is that Apex magazine? Because that doesn't sound like something that they would put on there, It's really weird. Yeah. I have
no, it's not. Abyss and Apex is a separate thing.
Oh, okay, so it's not an Apex publication, that's fine. I just thought it was generally a bit weird to have, I mean, the thing is, with the political motivation that they have of wreaking havoc and trolling people, I can see, their strategy of going for things that's actually decent and that people already like. It makes sense, because last year, the people that still read everything and said, I'm angry at them, but I'm not going to know award stuff without reading it, all generally came back with the same thing, which is everything that was on those slates was terrible and would not have gotten on otherwise, except for maybe the main the Jim Butcher book or something, and so yeah, I can see why they did it. It's very transparent, and the fact that it's accompanied by SJWs always lie and Vox Deus long form editor is we know what you're doing. You only have one more year to do it, so there you go.
Yeah. Oh, Vox Day. Vox Day in particular.
Yes, but yeah, it has been a cause of much annoyance and blah. Some people have been like, oh, I'm giving up on, the Hugos are just useless now. And I think that's a bit harsh, because it takes time to correct stuff like this.
Well, and there's a reason that the rules take so long to change.
Yeah.
It really is in the best interest of the Hugos as an award to make sure that, we think through any changes that actually happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I whilst I agree with you that I really don't like some of the stuff that's got on that's clearly just there to troll people that don't agree with the rabbit puppies, I do think it's a good thing that the committee, the Hugo Awards voting committee, the people that run the awards aren't allowed to just decide if something doesn't fit in a category because of its like creed, you know.
Yeah.
Because they have before disqualified things for reasons of not fitting the rules, but we won't know if any of that has happened until we get all the stats, which is always an interesting time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm most excited for, actually, is to the day after the Hugo Awards ceremony when everybody's already done the analysis and I can like wake up and there's information.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose it's going to be another annoying ceremony because there's going to be probably a lot of no awards, and whether there are or not, there'll be a lot of disappointed people on either side. But as for a Worldcon, it will have the second business meeting in which the Hugo, which is the motion that is meant to control whether something's coming on from a slate or not, the motion needs to be passed twice in order to be put into practice. And so this will be the second year that the motion is put forward. And I think there's no way that it's not going to pass, given the openly aggressive things that have made it on, like SJWs always lie, which are not. So at least that'll be one thing to look forward to, and then after the awards we'll have the stats, and that'll be interesting, and then hopefully we can just get on with having some awards in future years.
Yeah.
Right. That was bleak.
Films though, right? Films. We like films.
We liked films.
I don't know. I like it.
I think nothing can hurt the film category. Like, it just does what it does. Although, do people actually like the My Little Pony thing? What was that?
That's in short form. Look, My Little Pony is actually supposed to be quite good. I've never seen it, but it's actually supposed to be quite good in terms of like writing and stuff. And it's something that like people like Shauna Maguire are always raving about how amazing it is. So it can't be like, either poorly written or like actually. I mean, it can't be hateful. It's about friendship being magic. But,
No, yeah, I just wondered because I was like, I'm assuming I have heard of people talking about My Little Ponies, but like as somebody who's never consumed any My Little Pony stuff except like when I was little and I had the ponies.
Yeah, exactly, right.
You're not a brony?
Well, I'm not a bro, so.
Oh, that's the name for the people who like the fan group name for people who like My Little Pony.
Yeah, it's another one of these groups where, sadly, even within the nerd community, like, they tend to get looked down upon a bit. It's one of those sad, like, thing where it's like, I was bullied in high school, so I'm gonna make fun of people who like things that I don't like. And bronies get a bad rap. I mean, I'm sure there are some weird people within that, but they're everywhere, weird people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's just face it, we're in the SFF community, we're all the weirdos.
I mean, yeah, if it's not uncommon to find you at like a comics store or a game store, like, you don't have a lot of wiggle room. It's been interesting. I'm sorry?
Has anyone seen Jessica Jones yet?
I have.
Is it really good?
I like it. I like it for a TV show. I'm not sure that I would watch a ton of it. So I don't know if they're doing a second season. I think that they probably could have just done one, and it would be solid that way.
Okay. I've only watched the first 3 episodes. Yeah. I started it recently, but I like it so far.
Yeah, and I prefer the Jessica Jones show to the Alias comics that it's based off of. So. We do have brighter things going on, though, in the SF world. There's all sorts of fantastic awards and a bit of jabbing fun, the Arthur C. Clarke Award nominees came out the day after the Hugos this year.
I like their little announcement at the end of the Hugos, like, fear not, we are coming.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
Normally they're significantly more spread out because the Hugo Awards are traditionally announced on Easter weekend, but this year they were much later, partly because Easter was early and partly just because they started the nomination process later. So, yeah. And also because people hate it being announced on the Easter weekend. Unless you're at EasterCon, like, it's not the most useful time.
They were supposed to have live streamed the announcements for the Arthur C. Clarke Award. I don't know if they actually managed to be able to do that. Just as an aside, I thought that was going to be cool. They were supposed to do it for like through Periscope.
Yeah, they said they were Periscope in it.
Yeah, last year they did the Hugo announcement live, and it was just like a live feed of groans. So maybe I don't have to do it again, but yeah.
Yeah, that was basically Twitter this year instead.
Yeah. But actually, one thing that I just now noticed on the Arthur C. Clarke Awards is that Hot Escape is cleaning out.
Hot Escape had a bit of a winning year. Shall we read the shortlist?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Claire, you've got it up.
I've got it.
The shortlist is amazing.
So,
Yeah.
Is A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers.
Which is from Hot Escape.
Which
Yeah.
is Europe at Midnight by Dave Hutchinson, which is Solaris. The Book of Feet by Nelly Okorafor, which is also from Hot Escape. Arcadia by Ian Pierce, which is from Faber and Faber, which is normally more literary, so that's interesting.
It's a literary science fiction fantasy.
And then we've got Way Down Dark by J.P. Smythe, who I think writes under James Smythe as well. And
that's Australian.
Yeah.
And Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky for Tor, which is a new series for him.
Yeah, so 3 of the 6 from Hot Escapes. They're pretty happy.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I was also pretty happy. I was celebrating along with them. I was like, this is so cool. I've only read one of them as well.
I've only read 2, and those are the Hot Escape. I've only read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I'm reading the Book of Phoenix right now. I started it ages ago, and then I kind of put it down for no reason that relates to the book at all, but no, I've just picked it up again.
Yeah, I've got the Book of Phoenix and Way Down Dark, so I'm going to read both of them now, or like as soon as I can get to them, because obviously they're amazing, so I'm quite excited. I also bought Arcadia after it got onto this shortlist, because I've already heard people talk about it, and then I was like, fine, I will get it. So I've got that one as well.
Yeah, Arcadia's in my like pile of unopened new books that I bought myself while I'm just like waiting, and now I'm like, well, I've got to do the Clarke's World Shortlist reading, so what can I do?
I went to we have a science fiction bookstore in my metro area, and so I went there today because it's Indie Bookstore Day, and I tried to get as many as I could, and Arcadia was one that I was having trouble finding, and I found it like snuck away. Somebody had tried to hide it, and I had found it and I found it. So
I really want to read Children of Time.
Good job.
But I don't think it's out. It is out.
It is out in the UK because what?
It's out in paperback in like 4 days' time, and I didn't.
It's in my local Waterstones. If you want it.
Check out the Waterstones; they're always early.
Yeah.
I will go tomorrow.
Yeah, it depends on the shop, but it was in my local Waterstones this morning. So.
Very nice.
I'm sure that's okay right now. That's probably for the best. People are getting a little bit of an extra bump from selling. Yeah, I think if I try to buy Children of Time, I think it's going to wind up getting sent to me from the UK, actually.
Probably.
I don't think I can just get it here.
Which is weird, because it's a Tor title, so...
Yeah. Interesting.
Sometimes the release dates are weird.
Yeah, it's a UK shortlist, and he's a UK author, so makes
I don't know.
sense.
He's also lovely, not that you know,
I
about the writing, but I've heard him read before, not from that book, but I've heard him read before, and sounded really, really good.
Yeah, I saw him when I went to FantasyCon, and he was very down to earth, very very cool.
Yeah.
I've briefly met Dave Hutchison. He was very nice as well. And my friend Phil is a huge fan, and it still hasn't given up on telling me to read Europe in Autumn, which is the prequel. So I will be reading that like as soon as possible. I promise, Phil. I promise.
Yeah.
No, I bought my dad Europe in Autumn. We're gonna read it together.
Well,
Actually, my the science fiction person at my local Waterstones, the science fiction bookseller, has been telling me that I should read J.P. Smythe for a while now.
they
I
obviously
heard
knew.
Galactic Suburbia was talking about it, I think, recently, weren't they?
That wouldn't surprise me. It's the same area, right?
Yeah, they're in Australia. So I feel like they were. Maybe he won. Did he win an Aurealis or a Ditmar? Maybe.
I just
I don't
listened to
know.
that episode yesterday. I don't know. Am I really
I can't remember. There's been too many awards recently. For those who don't know, the Aurealis and the Ditmar are the like two Australian science fiction and fantasy awards.
It's interesting because that is one that doesn't get a lot of press as much. At least not here in the US.
Yeah, not here either.
Like, you have to be tuned in to the whole SF scene to really find out and pay attention to those.
I think that's why Galactic Suburbia is so, I feel like really important for me, like hearing about the different bits of the science fiction and fantasy scene. It's so easy for that to get lost, and listening to those guys really sort of reminded me that even within English language publishing there are like bits of the world where we hear a lot less about. So Lauren Bukes is always going on about the South African publishing industry, and then we've got Australia and New Zealand, and we've got like there's loads of English language stuff coming out of India, and yeah, it's just funny. Just don't hear about it as much.
Yeah. Are the Philip K. Dick Awards out yet? The nominee. They've chosen their winner.
I'm not sure. Shall we do, as I have it up, the Tiptrees next?
Yes.
That's also an excellent award, should people want to know about it. So, oh no, I haven't got it. 2015, I've got it.
Yeah, I think.
So the Tiptree Award has been awarded, but they don't give it out until May. But they publish not only the winner, or in this case this year 2 winners, they do the honour list, and then they publish the long list, because the Tiptree Award is to encourage books and encourage and award books that push forward the conversation about gender in interesting ways. Is anybody still with me? Yes. Sorry, I'm looking at the Tiptree page. I can't see you. Keep over to check you. So this year,
looking.
Yeah, this year it was won by 2 stories. The New Mother by Eugene Fisher from Dell magazines, from Asimov Science Fiction, which I have not heard or read or anything, and Lizard Radio by Pat Schmatz from Candlewick. And I haven't heard of that before, but that's the point of the Tiptrees, is because they've got this long list of things, and they tend to award really interesting stuff that you haven't necessarily heard of, and introduce you to tons of really interesting new authors. So I thoroughly recommend going and checking not just their winners list, but their honours and long list, because there's some brilliant stuff on there, including Odyssey, one of my favourite things I read last year.
I was so excited to see that.
Yeah.
Odyssey is a graphic novel, for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, it's a gender-bending retelling of Odyssey by Homer.
Yes.
Ah!
That's set in space.
I just bought it.
Yes, but in space.
I haven't read it yet, but I've got it. I'm ready.
Yeah, I don't know. Does the trade have the fold-out big explanation? The first issue had this big fold-out map. Ah, and that was useful and helpful. And I liked it. But yeah, in the past, Monica Byrne won 2014 for Girl on the Road, and Joe Walton was on that list as well for My Real Children. So you get some good stuff.
Yeah, like Radiance by Catherine Valente is up there. Steve Universe is up there. Lightspeed, like a couple of stories from that is in there. The Letters to Tiptree is obviously on the long list. Fifth Season's on the long list. Extraordinary Machine, Bitch Planet Volume 1 is up there. Sorcerer to the Crown. There's some freaking amazing stuff on this list. So I look forward to reading a bit more of the long list as well.
Yeah. Bitch Planet was one of my favorites, by the way.
So
if you haven't read it, you need it. It's so good. The one that surprised me on that was A Crown for Cold Silver, because when I read the synopsis, it kind of just sounded like a plain war story. Like it didn't sound like it did anything terribly interesting. Has anyone read A Crown for Cold Silver?
No, I haven't, but I've heard so many things like that, because I was exactly the same when I read the blurb. I was like, oh, it sounds like it'll be a typical, like, fun one, sure, I'll get it. But so many people have said that it's really, really good, so...
Well,
yeah.
Their
I guess it is.
synopsis says that it's got an older female main character.
Yeah, I think there's something like
women as likely as men to have, like, the roles that would typically be taken by men, so... maybe that's what's so interesting.
Maybe.
We'll have to read it and find out.
Yeah,
I'm going to read it very soon.
I did randomly get it in the mail, and so I now have it to read.
Excellent.
Someone somewhere knows me.
That's the best feeling.
About getting a copy of the Geek Feminist Revolution, by the way.
I want to get that one.
I'm super excited. I just got approved on NetGalley for the Geek Feminist Revolution. I'm super excited about it. I mean, granted, I could just go and read all of her blog posts, but...
It's nice when they're all together.
It is.
I'm looking at getting it on NetGalley, but then I was like, I'm going to buy it anyway, because I just want the physical thing.
It has a llama. Of course you should buy it.
Of course it has llamas.
I mean, I would have bought it if only to have an actual physical copy of We Have Always Fought.
Yeah.
I'm referring to that a lot, like in writing fiction and working on characters and stuff, like, because it's like it frees you up to do loads of things. It's great.
Yeah, it's one that I don't know yet, because obviously that's a whole year out, but it's one that I would be keeping my eye on for next year's Hugo related work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Easy.
I don't know, can an anthology of nonfiction win when one thing in it has already won?
Oh, interesting question.
I don't know, but I'd imagine even if it didn't, there's some fantastic stuff, because I think, did she write some new articles for it?
Oh, I think she did, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd imagine that those are pretty interesting. And I think she's got some specifically about what it's like being an outspoken feminist in the science fiction community while we have the internet right now, which I imagine is just
Good
fantastic.
times.
Let's see.
Yeah. I've been reading through this list whilst we've been talking.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to read the list and be like,
good stuff on it.
it's so good.
I'm like, I just want to buy all of these books. Read all of them.
You could honestly buy everything on this list and have a really good year of reading. Like, really good year.
This is true. That is very true.
I know some people do that with like the BBC ones and things that are put out, don't they? They just read like stuff that is in a big list for a year. I don't know how that would work for me, but it would be interesting to try with like just choosing like 5 awards and just reading all of their lists for the next year.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that. But it would be interesting.
Claire, what were you saying?
I was saying that I've got the Philip K. Dick Awards
Oh yeah.
winners up now. The winner was Apex by Ramez Nam, which is
Yeah.
a robot book with a special citation for Archangel by Marguerite Reed, which is by Arch Press. And I find that very interesting because Apex is it's a sequel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, also I haven't read it because I didn't really like the first book, but yeah, I just find it. I mean, it's in the style, I think, of things that gets awarded an award like the Philip K. Dick because it's very science fictional and very tech oriented and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
The one that surprised me a little bit was, well, two of them, After the Saucers Landed and Revolution, and not because of the books, I haven't read them, but because I didn't know Nightshade Press was still, like, actively
Yes, I
doing
was just
stuff.
thinking that.
And also 47 North, I don't think I've seen them make it. That's Amazon, and I haven't seen them make an appearance, I think, on an awards yet. Maybe for Marco Cluse last year on the Hugos, but I don't know.
Yeah, but that was the slated work though.
Yeah.
And the Nebula is being given out really soon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sometime in May.
Yes, I'm jealous. Thomas is going.
Yeah.
He always goes. I'm so
I know.
jealous.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
so shall we go through the Nebulas?
Yes.
Okay. So for novel, we have Raising Cain. Wait, am I reading the right year? Yeah. Raising Cain by Charles E. Gannon, which is from Bain. The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin from Orbit. Ancillary Mercy by Anne Leckie, also from Orbit. The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu from Saga. Uprooted by Naomi Novik, which is Del Rey in the US, although I think it's someone else over here. Basque, The Elephant's Graveyard by Lawrence M. Schoen from Tor, and Updraft from Fran Wilde by Tor. So I hadn't heard of Basque until this was announced. I had not even heard anybody talking about it.
Yeah. I had heard Catherine from the Androids Conundrum. She talked about it maybe a couple
I think
months
I
ago.
heard her a while ago, yeah.
And she's really good. She's normally got her fingers on the pulse of what's good in SF. So I wasn't surprised after I heard that she talked about it. I was a little surprised at Updraft. But I mean, it wasn't a bad book. I enjoyed it. It was fun, but I was a little surprised for that one.
I don't know. I was wondering if it did something especially weird with the narrative, because I thought Uprooted was probably on the list because it does have this like very lyrical, very fairy tale-y kind of style that's very specific. And I can see how, as a writer, you'd be like, okay, this is really good writing, even if you might not like some things about it. Which might be a reason why it's on the Nebula, which is voted on by Science Fiction Writers of America membership, which are all writers and editors.
Yeah.
I don't know that Updraft has that same thing going for it, though. At least I didn't. If it does, I didn't key into it when I was reading it.
I think it's great to see things like Updraft and Uprooted, which were kind of marketed partly as YA.
Yeah.
On lists like these, I'm actually really happy about that because there's been a big general like divide in the science fiction community about like, oh well, we don't read that because that's not serious literature. So I think that's really great to see.
Updraft is also on the Andre Norton list too, which is also done at the same time. So they doubled up, which is interesting and also probably good.
Yeah. Did we want to do Novella or any of the others?
I've read a couple of these. Well, I've read two of them.
Well,
I
the
think
New Mother is the one that won the Tiptree, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Rachel from Carlinadi was saying that the Pauper Prince and the Eucalyptus Gin is wonderful.
I've read that one, and I liked it.
Yeah.
Actually,
and Binti's on there as well again. So obviously Binti's sweeping the award nominees this year.
Binti, the 5th season. A lot of
Yeah.
these are taking kind of the slates are all around.
And You Shall Know Her by the Trail of Dead is in Novella as well, so that's a crossover with the Hugos. And it's got another nomination somewhere, because I remember seeing Bo talking about it on Twitter, saying it's been nominated in a few places.
Yeah. I forget which one, though.
Yeah. I do like that Cat Pictures, Please by Naomi Kritzer is in the best short story category, and it's the most adorable story ever. It's just so cute.
I have not read it, but I want to go read it just for the title.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely. It's like if Google kind of became sentient. Like, maybe the reason there's so many cat pictures on Google is because Google likes cat pictures. And then it's just very cute.
And it has there's an Alyssa Wong short story also on the shortlist for the Nebula, and she is the one nominee from the Campbell Awards who was not on a slate. So and also one of the first Filipina nominees, I think, for the Hugos. Maybe I'm wrong.
I do not know.
So.
Yeah, and the Nebulas also include the Ray Bradbury Award for Outstanding Dramatic Presentation. Which includes Ex Machina, Inside Out, which didn't get a Hugo Award, and somebody was suggesting that might, but they obviously didn't. Jessica Jones, Mad Max, Fury Road, The Martian, and Star Wars all got on that.
It's interesting that. It's interesting that they do short form and long form in the same one, though, because I imagine it would be hard to, like, how do you compare a 30-minute episode of Jessica Jones with, like, 2.5 hours of The Martian or something?
I always find that with TV show, like with the short form in the Hugos and anywhere where you're nominating a single episode of a series, it's like, well, you can't really. I get that it's a good episode, but you really need the context of the series.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they only divided the Hugo dramatic presentation short and long form something like 10 years ago. You will notice that no Buffy episode ever has won a Hugo, and that's because when Buffy was on, the Hugo were only long form, like it was all together, and so only films ever won. And I think someone put the motion to have a short form as a separate thing around that time, whether it was for Buffy or not, I don't know, but it was so that TV could be recognized as a separate thing. And it's also when TV started getting a bit more serialized and have like proper plot arcs and not be like just Monster of the Week. So yeah, but it's a very recent thing.
And shall we?
It does have a separate YA category.
Yeah. The Andre Norton Award for Young Adult Science Fiction and Fantasy is also done at the Nebula. On their list, they have Seriously Wicked by Tina Connolly from Tortine, Court of Fives by Kate Elliott from Little Brown, Cuckoo Song by Frances Hardinge by Macmillan, and also in the U.S. Amulet, Archivist Wasp by Nicole Corner-Stace by Big Mouth House, Zero Boxer by Fonda Lee from Flux, Shadow Shaper by Danielle Jose Older, that's from Levine, Bone Gap by Laura Ruby, Balzer and Bray, Nimona by Noelle Stevenson, that was published by Harper Teen, and Updraft by Fran Wild from Tor.
Yeah, and I think Cuckoo Song by Frances Hardinge won some like really big award in the UK. Like
no, that was the Lie Tree.
Yeah, that was her other book.
Just won the Costa Award.
But that's the same author, isn't it?
Yes, same author. Yeah. She's been getting quite the recognition this year. I have also acquired the Lie Tree in my huge thing.
I've had Shadow Shaper in my to be read, but it sits in my ebook. It's an ebook version, and so I'm always really bad about my ebooks.
I am as well. So bad.
Same.
Archivist Wasp was interesting. I read that one.
I have not read it. What's it about?
It's about this basically a kind of church-appointed archaeologist who goes around kind of figuring out why ghosts are there in a world that's inundated with ghosts. And she has this ghost that kind of follows her home and takes her on this adventure through the ghost world. And I make it sound, it's a lot darker than I make it sound. It's very dark. But it was interesting. And Nimona, I'm not surprised to see on there.
No,
I think that's the only graphic work though that made the Andre Norton Award.
Yeah, Dave. I think. Is it the first one or just the only one this year?
I think it's the only one this year. I'm sure that I would be surprised if there were ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fun. Let's see. I don't know. Nothing else I think on this that I've read. I'm really bad about reading YA.
Since we did the BookTube SFF award this year, and I started reading some of the shortlists, I got to say I'm getting a lot more interested in the YA stuff, because the two that really got me were the YA things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been reading way more YA this year actually than last year. Last year I barely read any, and what I did read I was really disappointed with. And this year I think I've just discovered so many authors that I really, really like, and so I've just been like catching up with their series and reading things by the same authors, and then getting recommendations from Chelsea, so it's all been going pretty well.
It's all about finding the right authors and people that you're interested in, publishers who are doing interesting things, like
it's just complete myth that YA is not as good, because it can be. You just gotta look for it.
Yeah.
Illuminae won the Aurealis for Best Science Fiction Novel, not Best YA, Best Science Fiction Novel.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I went to a YA-themed event last week that I got randomly a ticket to from a friend, the YA blogger, and I got like 3 books that I then realized were all from Hotkey Books. So I didn't need to do that, but they do really generally have great kind of original stuff. And so I got The Girl from Everywhere, which is like space and time traveling pirates, which I'm into in general. And that was on my most anticipated list for 2016. And I got The Big Lie, which is one of those the Nazis won the war and now it's the future and there's Nazi everywhere. And Lorelei, which is a thing about a mermaid.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
I randomly picked up stuff, and Lorelei is very pretty. Has scales on it, so I was just like, I want the book with the scales. From Hotkey, and so that's probably maybe something to pay attention to.
Hotkey.
I mean, I think the UK only. I don't know if their stuff gets published in the US or not, but yeah.
Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Normally, it has to go through a different publisher. So that's always a kind of a headache. Amulet has been doing stuff that I really like, though. Amulet's SF, like that was On the Edge of Gone, which I loved, and they did her. That's Corinne Duvis, and her other book, Otherbound, is through them, and I enjoyed that one. Not as much. I really, really liked On the Edge of Gone, but that's interesting. Especially they show up with Cuckoo Song.
I'm just ordering On the Edge of Gone right
Yeah,
now.
you do.
It's really good. So good.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think all 3 of us have read it. It's good.
That really needs to be on some awards next year. I really hope it is. Like, it came out so early this year, but
I really hope it does.
So
it's
really interesting. So
it's really good. Yeah, and I feel like I keep like trying to force it on people. Like, no, you have to read this one. Read this one.
Well, if you enjoyed it, you might enjoy a new book that is coming out called Defying Doomsday.
Defying Doomsday?
Yes, it's an anthology from 12th Planet Press, and it's all like apocalypse fiction with a focus on disabled and chronically ill characters.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they do really great work in general.
Yeah.
Planet.
No, I just got my copy early because I backed it on well, like the equivalent of Kickstarter or whatever it is they used. So I've got my copy ready to go, and I'm just like, just shall be mine, because they do brilliant anthologies like Kaleidoscope, which was their young adult one. It's so good.
I'm
so
looking this up now.
And this is just going to descend into us just recommending things at each other now.
Well, yeah.
People will appreciate this. When they watch it later, they'll just be like, yep.
Shall we keep it awards themed? And now let's try and guess winners.
Oh, okay.
Predict the future, people. Okay, so Tiptree Jr.
Hugos?
Yeah, let's do Clarke's, because there's only 6 of them, so we can pick more easily.
Okay.
I know what I want to win.
Yes.
Which is?
Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. 100%. It didn't make it onto BookTube SFF, which really upset me and Elizabeth, I think. So.
I liked it, but I think probably I liked it, but it felt very episodic, you know, like as in I'm sure that's what she wanted to do. Like it's not like it's a flaw of the narrative, but I didn't really enjoy it as much because of that.
It's a little bit like watching a TV show when you're reading.
Saying that I haven't read any of the others, so they could be brilliant.
Yeah, it doesn't help. The Book of Phoenix is real good. The Book of Phoenix is kind of beautiful, and like as you can see from the cover, it's all about like righteous flaming anger. So I like it.
And I am a fan of Okorafor.
Some of the other ones as well. So.
See, I didn't like Binti very much, so.
Well, last year Station 11 won.
Oh really? Oh yeah, that's right.
So
Maybe Arcadia is more of a, I don't know, because that's maybe more like Station 11 in terms of like the tone or whatever. Station 11's fairly literary, like it's a really good book.
They do like quite literary stuff, because the other nominees last year were The Book of Strange New Things, which is very literary, The Girl with All the Gifts, Europe in Autumn, so obviously they're a fan of Dave Hutchinson's writing, The First 15 Lives of Harry August, and Memory of Water.
Yeah, those are all pretty literary.
Yeah.
And
maybe Arcadia then.
I don't know, Nadia Crawford's like, she does some interesting things. Obviously Ancillary Justice won the year before, which was up against God's War. The Disestablishment of Paradise by Philip Mann, which I've never heard of. Nexus by Ramez Nam, which is the one that came out before Apex that we were talking about earlier. The Adjacent by Christopher Priest, and The Machine by James Smythe. So they're not like hugely literary. It was obviously just a very literary year.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, apparently it's J.P. Smythe's. It's not his first time on the ballot, so maybe that's another point in his favor. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Ooh, hard one. Hard.
It's hard to say without having read like more than one.
Yeah.
I haven't read enough to like properly assess that one, I think.
Yeah, my goal for summer is to actually read the stuff that's on the Arthur C. Clarke Award list.
And mine.
Yeah, picked up a couple of them, but I have some on the way that are going to take forever in the mail. Do we want to do Nebula?
I don't think I could pick from that. But
Yeah, they have a good crop.
I mean, I've not read all of them, but I do think that the 5th season probably has a really good shot because of some of the narrative tricks that it pulls. If you've read it, you know what I mean. If you haven't, I'm not going to say.
Yeah, maybe.
But,
yeah,
I mean,
it's well done.
Yeah, that.
I haven't read Farsk, The Elephant's Graveyard, but I've heard really good things about it.
it sounds like an interesting concept. So who knows? And I know why I hadn't heard of it before it was announced, is because it had only been out for 2 months. It didn't come out until the 29th of December.
Yeah, it's new.
It's a good day.
Relatively new.
Yeah, so it did well very quickly.
I've heard some really good things about The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, and Ken Liu previously had been writing mostly short work, and he's been really well recognized and well liked for his short fiction. So I think people have been talking about The Grace of Kings and kind of saying it's not really what we expected from him, but it's just as good as we expected from him. Does that make sense?
I started it on audio, but I have to get a physical format because trying to listen to it on audio was not working for me.
Yeah, and Uprooted's on the Nebulas as well, and the hype that I heard about Uprooted all came from writers. All came from other authors being like, this is amazing. And all the readers, all the booktubers and stuff that I would normally listen to weren't such big fans, which does say interesting things about it, I think. If nothing else.
It had a quote on it from Robin Hobb, that's why I got it.
Yeah.
But then I was disappointed.
Cameron Hurley thought it was amazing. The Galactic Suburbia people talked about it. It
had quotes all over it. That one.
I started it, and I've told this story before, so I won't again. But when I started it, the week that it came out, I was in the living room reading it, and I was reading bits aloud of it because it was so beautifully written. And I put it down, and I'm afraid of picking it back up again because I don't want to be disappointed. And so many people have said that they found it disappointing. I don't want to have my little Naomi Novik feelings hurt, but I need to read it now because it's an old book.
I know a lot of people who really love it as well, though. Just because we don't doesn't mean a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people who are booktubers and still really love it, and I know some people who've definitely decided that's their pick for the BookTube SFF awards and stuff. So,
and there, especially it gets a lot of play with the YA crowd. That was one because I do like to keep a little bit of an eye on what they read, what the YA booktubers read, since I don't read as much, and everyone who picks it up over there in that kind of niche of booktube has really liked it.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, what about Hugo? Let's just do the novels because everything else is a bit hard to but novels. So we've got Ancillary Mercy, The Cinder Spires, The Fifth Season, Seven Eves, and Uprooted.
I think Cinder Spires has a chance of winning it.
No. I think it'll come down to The Fifth Season or Seven Eves.
I think that's
Seven Eves has a huge block of the traditional sci-fi fans who do have big voting power in the Hugos.
Yeah.
It's also really good.
It is also
and it's really good, yeah. But that section of fans will be really enthused to see some hard sci-fi in there.
Yeah. I know what you mean, and I think it's kind of the people who might vote for the Aeronaut Windlass maybe would be voting for Seven Eves as well. But I do.
No, I don't mean it negatively. I'm not saying it's a puppy thing or it'll be but there are a lot of people who love hard sci-fi who are again and again members of the Hugo voting thing, and then there's not always a hard sci-fi novel in there. And when there is, it does tend to do well. And Jim Butcher, not a hard sci-fi writer.
Yeah, I think the safe money's on.
My lack of Jim Butcher knowledge here, but yeah, I think Ancillary Mercy is another one that could do very well, but because it's a third book, if people haven't read the first two, then maybe. But I think if you've read the first two, then it's a very competent ending to.
It was an excellent ending.
Yeah. But I do think it's going to come down to the Fifth Season or Seven Eves. I have my opinions on which one should win, but.
Yeah, there we go. Confident in our predictions there.
Serious honestly, when you do read it, like the end of that book and like the last sentence of the book telling you like what you can expect in the next, like there
And
were moments in it that I liked more than others, you know, and I wasn't always like on track for it. There's a bloody point of view in the second person. I don't think that was necessary. I would have preferred
Yeah,
something
that
else.
threw me so much at
I think
first.
that's probably why it has a really good chance with stuff like the Nebula, because like, you know, it's actually like it annoyed me because of what it was, but for what it is, it's actually really well done in terms of the writing of it. But like just the ending of that book.
so good. So good.
Yeah.
And the
Really
Obelisk
nice.
Gate, its sequel is out in August, which I'm so
Yeah,
excited
yeah.
for.
Because Jemison actually finished the 5th season like 2 years ago, and then she was like, yeah, I don't fancy having like 3 years in between books, so I'm gonna put it out later and then like make sure that it comes out really, really fast. So I'm happy about that.
Not as fast as the Vandermeers, God.
Yeah.
And whoever does Jemison's audiobook casting deserves just such an award. All of her audiobooks are just
I mean, I'm pretty
fantastically
sure
cast.
that person has been nominated for an audio award this year, so you know, you got your wish.
Right.
Okay. So that's about it. Yeah, thanks everyone who's watching for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time. All right.
Bye.